Welcome to Viking Spotlight. This is a podcast about people, events, and projects in the North Canton City School District. I'm your host, Jeff Wendorf, and today we're talking with Mr. Chris Triner, Chair of the District Arts Program. Chris has been a visual art teacher in North Canton City Schools for over 30 years, beginning at North Canton Middle School in 1991. He taught at every level within the district and is currently teaching at the Hoover High School. And he's also the district's art department chair and lead mentor, co-coordinator, working with all brand new and incoming teachers and their mentors in North Canton. As an extension to the district's values of grit, relationship, respect, integrity, Chris was awarded the North Canton Education Endowment Grant as seed money to begin the Stark County's first student-powered art gallery at Hoover High School called Studios 525. Named for the school's address. This gallery empowers our district's artists to have their work connected to our community in a variety of shows, all curated by Hoover students. Chris was the 2010 North Canton City Schools Outstanding Educator for grades 6 through 12 and the Ohio Art Education Association Outstanding Art Teacher for our region in 2011. In addition, Chris was the inaugural Stark County's Outstanding Art Educator in 2020, and was just recently awarded the North Canton Chamber of Commerce's Art Advocacy Award for 21. As a professional artist, his work often hangs in local galleries, as well as private collections from New York to California. Along with his wife and fellow teacher in North Canton, they're proud to be raising 2 Vikings for life. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Great. Some neat stuff that you've done and are doing. And we're just going to run through a few questions, just to have a conversation so folks can get to know you better and understand what great things happen for our art students in the district. So we know you have experienced personal success in your own artwork, is obvious if you travel Stark County and sounds like even around the nation. What's your favorite medium to work in, and why is it important for you to continue to practice art while you're teaching art?
Good question. I've always been a dabbler in the arts, and I think when I came to this profession, I knew that I needed to, continue to practice and hone my own skills. And one of the things I found was I got involved with my own kids and my own life, and I sort of shut that art making side off from me. And I realized that after a couple of years, I was really sort of missing out with that experience and really being able to explain to our own students a little further with any kind of depth. So, I took back up seriously art making and found time for myself and making that a priority, which is hard often, as you know, when you've got a family and a full-time job. But I realized that it really made me not only empathize with the kids in the process of making, I was able really able to teach them the creative process. I always tell the kids that being creative is not this special gift. It's more like being a scientist or studying. You have to hypothesize a plan. You practice with the skills. You practice with the tools, whatever they might be. You're a potter on a wheel. You're using a paintbrush. You're working digitally. You got to practice those things and come to some conclusions about how successful or how successful they weren't. And then you put that into practice to develop something. So it's not just what you see on a canvas or on a piece of paper. There's a whole level of thinking to that. So I've been trying to bring that same concept to the kids, even from my own experiences.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you always been an artist? I mean, through high school, early age, grade school, and beyond stick figures in elementary?
I tell the kids all the time, that's my big claim to fame, is that I never took any art experience throughout school. I never, in high school and elementary school. In elementary school, we had, the typical
Sure.
arts and crafts. When I got to high school in the 80s, it was, you were going to go to college. And so therefore you had a choice between something in the art world or taking a foreign language. And of course, if you were planning to go to college, you had to have a foreign language, just like you do. It's a high expectation now. And so my folks said, that's not for you. So I didn't take any art. And then when I student taught, it was, I was always the big guy. And so they'd always put me at a middle school for disciplinary reasons. I'd be the more intimidating figure. So the first time, I can tell you this now, the first time I was ever in a high school art room was the first day I worked here.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I'd never had any of that, and scared the daylights out of me. I'd been employed at our middle school for many years and landed a job here. And I thought, okay. I'm in the I thought I was in the big time,
That's
and
right.
now I had to figure that out. So yeah, I always share that with them every year and tell them that taking art in high school or not taking something doesn't define what your future will be.
Right. You can decide that anywhere along the way. Right?
Your life evolves.
Cool. Yeah. So what's your favorite medium? What do you like to do the most?
I was trained as a painter, and, drawing and illustration, that was my thing. And as the years have gone on, I dabble, I love to make short little videos now for the students and edit those. I love spray paint. So I'm using spray paint within my own work and on my canvases. And, so I tell the kids, if you're not adventurous, you don't stumble across something new, you may really be denying your opportunity for real greatness. So I try to mix it up a little bit. I'm really game for anything.
That's awesome. That's neat to stumble and try new things, and sometimes fail, but often succeed. Yep.
It's okay.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the art curriculum at North Canton. What's it mean? What's it look like, basically from, elementary through high school?
Sure. So we just happen to be unique too. And in fact, in Stark County, we're especially unique because we have a pre-K to 12 art program. And I was looking actually some information online, and I guess I didn't fully realize that less than 83% of the public schools in the country have access to visual arts K to 12, and we have a unique situation. We have a pre-K to 12 program. So I think first of all, having that continuum and that connection with all those different levels is huge. And then therefore we have a teaching staff that is all art specialists that link that, and every one of them is certified in visual arts. So, that obviously brings another layer to it, but really everything is sort of guided by the state. And so we really have kind of 3 areas that we look at. We talk about creating, performing, and responding. And like everybody, at your house, you get a facelift every couple of years to spruce things up. The state is in the middle of faceless and everything. Yeah. And so they're looking at sort of some more 21st century connections in visual arts. So they're now adding that connecting piece where they're asking the students to be more aware of how does art making, the art process, how does art have a place in our larger scale world, and especially with 90% of what our students come in contact with being visual, right. Everything they see is on their phone or online. They have such a connection with visual, where they call that the idea of, being able to read visually. I can always tell the kids, quote unquote, that you're still reading. It's all about audience and purpose. What are you looking at, and what is the meaning you're supposed to be taking from that? So I tell the kids all the time that that's your big job, is still being able to sort of decode what you see, because it's really easy to just look at it and scroll and not think about important things like, where's the lighting? Where does it take place? What are the context clues? Is there a caption that gives you a clue in? Or are you supposed to gain all the information just from looking at the image? So I try to tell the kids, especially my high schoolers, but we talk about visual literacy. So the state has been really big about pushing that idea and connecting that. So we're putting that together with creativity and performing and responding, and now that idea of connecting. So that facelift, the state hopes to have done by the end of next year, and we're already kind of site planning and site testing some things to hopefully prepare for that.
Sure. That's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting stuff. And they do review the curriculum, the standards every so often. And, and it is a changing world with the electronic media and access to everything. Good. Well, when you're working with a student teacher in art, and I know that's a big piece of training our future educators, what advice do you give to a student teacher, maybe just getting started?
I always tell them probably about 2 or 3 things. Number one, obviously being in the classroom and being connected to those young people is primary, understanding the mechanics of day to day. Look, you're in there, you've got mechanical jobs, taking attendance, making sure the lesson is serviced, make sure you have the supplies, but then you can't overlook the idea that you got to have that relationship with those young people, and they have to build that sense of trust with you. And I know you and I, and we've all talked about that idea of trust and connectivity to kids. And I always tell them that because I think especially in a product-driven sort of area like visual art, it's really easy to get caught up in the thing, whatever the thing the kids are making.
Right.
And I use the analogy even with all our new teachers, and I teach a graduate class at Malone, and I tell everybody this kind of goofy analogy. I say, you order a pizza from the greatest pizza place in North Canton, and it's going to be amazing. You've heard, fabulous reviews. You've heard all this stuff, and the pizza's going to be amazing. But the delivery was 2 hours late. And it doesn't really matter how great the pizza was. The chances are your memory is of how it got delivered. So I always say teaching is not only the product, but the delivery of it. And it doesn't matter how great the information is or how great you thought the content was that day. If it's not delivered,
right,
hot, fresh, and ready,
right.
the kids don't connect with that. It doesn't resonate. And they're a barometer. They'll tell you as soon as it isn't delivered right. So
usually pretty clear where you stand.
Yeah. So I always tell them, I said, if you remember the pizza analogy,
that's awesome.
It'll stick with you.
Good. Great. Thanks. Studio 525 or 525. It's the only student run in our county that we know of, and really probably in the state that we're sure of. So the art gallery in 525 is, incredible. It's unique. It's a great experience for our kids. Tell us the story behind that, how it came about, and what you want to do with it.
So we are now actually not the only one. There is a school that has a polar bear, I understand, that has one, which shall remain nameless, of course, that also has a gallery. We are the first. That's our claim to fame, of course. But we have this little unused corner of the art room. I don't want to say unused, but it was originally thought of as, I think, repurposed as something else. And about 5 years ago, my colleague, Mrs. Tim Grandjean, and I were talking and said, wouldn't it be neat if it was a way we could use it to display artwork or do something with the kids to teach them about what does it mean to display your artwork? Because there's more than just, I know at home you kind of think, you're just hanging it on the wall. But when you're considering all the process of that, the matting, the framing, the publicity. So we were investigating, and I wrote a little North Canton endowment grant. So I always put a plug in for the endowment fund. It's an amazing opportunity for our teachers. Every teacher I ever come in contact with, that's probably one of the top things I say is, if you've got a little brain idea and you want to get a little seed money, it's an easy way. They make the process so simple to write a grant. So we were able to acquire a little bit of money, seed money. We had paid for some of the hanging systems and put us in a sort of a wood look floor. And from there, we started sharing our idea and kind of working with people. And before you know it, it was fascinating. The more kind of stakeholders we shared it with, the more people said, hey, we'd love to donate. So we shared our vision with the North Canton Sideliners. They gave us some seed money. We were able to kind of put some blinds in to kind of make it a little more intimate, a little more artsy. And they helped us with some lighting and some blinds. And it was about a day or two after the grant was decided upon that we were going to get a lady who was just retiring from the art world, who had been a professional artist for 30 years and had these really expensive display walls, said, look, I can't sell them on eBay. I can't get rid of them. I can't throw them away. Would you be willing to take them? Well, I looked up the cost of those. They were significantly more than we could have ever afforded. So now we have this really intricate mobile wall system that allows us to configure the walls in there any way we want. And as they're hanging the blinds, Abbott Blinds said, you're not hanging blinds on all the windows. I said, well, the sad fact is I can't afford it. So she asked what we were doing, and she said, we believe so strongly in what's happening. We're going to donate the other half of the blinds.
That's awesome. Yeah.
We ended up with enough seed money from all these different stakeholders who believed in what we were doing, and before you know it, before the end of the year, we had a place to hang and artwork and display it and have a system that's ready for our kids. So it was great. That's
awesome. Yeah. So I think you touched on this slightly, but tell me more about what a student curator would do. What do they do for a program like this?
Yeah. So they actually kind of learn from the ground up. We talk about, there's some math, so they've got to learn how to measure, cut mats, frame and prepare them. We talk about, professional presentations and what that looks like. And obviously, how do you hang it, eye level? Then you've got, we have some really nice lighting in there. So there's lighting to make sure that it accents what's there. And of course, you do something flat versus sculpture versus photo. Every one of those takes different lighting and different hanging processes. And then they also get to work in the publicity. So they put together press releases to share with the communications department, our school secretaries, to put out in newsletters. Mm-hmm. They also help us with social media. So they'll help push out things. They create graphics. We have a student this year who's also in interactive media. So they're making the graphic design work. So everybody's got a little hand in doing something that's, much like a traditional art gallery would, so that they really learn from ground up. So
real life experience and hands-on.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's the hope.
Yeah. So what kind of exhibits have gone on in there in the last few years? And I know there's been some unique ones and some alumni even that have done some things.
We've actually done 2 alumni shows. The first one was probably the first year I think it was open full time. We try to do anywhere between 3 and 4 shows a year. The last one's always a guarantee. It's the big senior show. So, much like our choir program and we have a senior night for our athletes, we have senior night for our art students. So they take over the whole gallery. We invite their family. So that's a constant every year. And then we usually try to do 1 collaborative show. So the last couple of years, I've been able to wrangle some staff into having their students. So we had, for example, this year we had our advanced Spanish students actually translated from English into Spanish some of the work that the kids did during Dia de los Muertos around the fall, right around Halloween. So then hanging up was our student work plus the Spanish translations of all that. So they got to work collaboratively there. A couple of years ago, we did a variation on that. We called it Blind Date. We did it right around Valentine's Day, and the AP English students actually wrote poetry that would go into their AP portfolios relating to the artwork that they saw from our kids.
Cool.
And then we did the flip so that our kids had to make artwork based on other poems that those AP art kids did, or AP English kids did. So then we had the big reveal on Valentine's Day night. So they didn't know who was who and who was matched. So it was kind of fun. Probably the biggest and best one, I got the biggest community feedback was the one we did the year we called it Monster Mash, where our developmental preschool kids, all of them did drawings of what they thought was the scariest monster. And, that the imagination of those young people is just inspirational. And, they'll tell you everything, and there's no filter, which is a beautiful thing sometimes. And then several of those works were given to our high school students in our junior level, and they made soft sculptures of them. They did cartoon illustrations, like put them into the setting of a comic book. And then again, we did that blindly so that they got to meet those young people. So on that night, we had preschoolers, their parents, we had the high school kids and their parents. We had a big candy bar for food out front. And it was just neat to see our high school kids, who are always too cool for just about everything. Right. But you watch the big high school boy. The best thing was seeing the linebacker soft sewing a sculpture, and then getting to meet that young person that night, and his big linebacker heart melted. I think two sizes smaller that night.
And them actually bringing to life the things that the kids, had an idea, inspiration for the younger kids.
Absolutely.
That's
and then
awesome.
We gifted it to them at the end, so they got to keep whatever the kid made. So that was our favorite and by far the biggest feedback. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Now, I know I mentioned alumni. You've had some alumni in, and I'm thinking of one in particular, and I don't recall his name, but a pretty high-profile artist had done some things in the corporate world, I think.
Yeah, so Jake Mensner is a young man we had a couple years ago. He actually works and lives still locally, but has sort of lived back and forth between here and Columbus, and does murals in Columbus and works here. And he's just had a large-scale show in downtown Canton. We've had a lot of successful, I can name drop, but I won't name drop. But we've had, long before I got here, we have a young lady who won a nationwide competition to be a Disney Imagineer. So she got to she worked 6 months there, and then actually they were so impressed with her 6-month stint as a prize, they asked her to stay on and work full time.
Yeah, I think I know her. Yeah, she worked locally for an architect for a period, and then left.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome. Exactly who it is. Yeah. We've got a young man who's now the head of creative development at Marvel. His claim to fame was he worked on the first Iron Man 1 as sort of a cleanup artist and sort of worked his way up, and now he's head of all visual development there. We got a couple of professors who work. I have one that works at, here's another one at the University of Michigan, another place we probably shouldn't mention, but she works at the University of Michigan. And we got a couple that are toy designers. I got an industrial designer that actually builds venues for big concerts, so like Lilith Fair. He builds all those sort of outside concert skins that you would see to the exterior. So they do big fabrications for corporate launchings and things like that. So we have actually a lot that are in really diverse. We all kind of think graphic design and art teachers, and we have all those too. But I always tell the kids, there's a big world outside of North Canton if you're willing to
Right.
look
Want
past
to be
it.
interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll help you get a flavor, and then you refine that later on.
That's our hope.
For some cash, of course. Yeah. Well, I know our art teachers, they've also worked in the little art gallery at the North Canton Public Library and some others around the county. But tell us about what kind of artwork goes to the little art gallery.
So I should put a plug in for the Little Art Gallery first. Yeah, let's plug it. It's that season. So we have a show that our pre-K to second graders are in there right now. And the show will go on from the 29th of January, and it's going to go all the way until March 17th. There we go, March 17th, when the high school show will be in there. So because we kind of have two venues, we're really kind of blessed. There are a lot of school districts that don't have any venues to showcase their kids' artwork. We are lucky we have two. So the Little Art Gallery that we kind of use as sort of that focused model where we try to take a snapshot from every classroom, every building. So it's a segment of the art world. And then we have the Little Art, or the Studio 525, where we try to do sort of thematic type things where we have like a middle school show, or like I said, like pre-K being in there. So we try to stretch our experience for our kids. So they have those two different venues, and the art teachers work really hard to collaborate to kind of decide how that Little Art Gallery show will sort of showcase the best of what those kids have done.
That's awesome. Tell folks, if you've not been to the North Canton Library to see that, when those are open, and they have other things, not just our events there, but it's a very, very cool way to show our students skills and their arts.
Yeah, and for over 30 years, it has been the most visited show at the Little Art Gallery for over 30 years. Yeah. So they track their numbers, and they say they get more foot traffic from that show than anything else. So.
Library's not a bad place to hang out.
No, absolutely not. If you need some quiet space, that's a great place to go.
It's a great place, yeah. And we have a great partnership with the North Canton Public Library. We appreciate that. You talked a little bit about alumni and their success stories, and what do you tell maybe our middle school and our early high school kids about? They like to dabble. Sometimes you see kids doodling and in their notebooks and so on. They have no intent of doing anything, but gosh, sometimes they have a skill that they could expand on and so on. And just so, take a course, try a course, and continue. Tell us a little bit about the variety of courses that are available in the high school course catalog.
Yeah, so it may seem kind of restrictive in the fact that we have sort of Art 1 through AP. So we have 5 courses, but we come from a philosophical belief that in that year-long course, we really kind of expose you to a broad range of things. So while it's important to learn drawing and painting and some of those fundamental things, first of all, one, we have the experience that we can give you depth because you have a year in the course. And number two, that can give us a chance to, if you want to take that further and you want to take something into printmaking, or you want to do some stop motion animation. I have a unit I do in freshman year. We'll do that towards the end of the year so we can do a little animation. And then those kids get excited to come to things like video productions, years later. I have them, we try to get them to understand that having that year of just an umbrella course really is beneficial, because they walk out of here with a little bit of everything. I call it the more of a buffet version.
Sure. So fundamentals, right?
Yeah, so that when they go to college, they actually have a better understanding and to kind of refine themselves if they choose to go on. So I think that's important, and we kind of philosophically work from that standpoint.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What else you want to share with us about the art program or about Chris Triner?
Oh, and there's nothing more about me. I think we're good there. We've talked all we need to talk about me. I would just say that I think that this district has really, I understood that when I came here and taught here 31 years ago, that this district supports the arts. And I would say that we've continued to strive to improve on that and get better, and I think we have. And I haven't found a person yet that when we come up with an idea, however harebrained sometimes it might be, like an art gallery, that says, look, let's work with this. And it may start as a slow generating idea, but truly it has gained momentum. So we are incredibly fortunate that administrators, the other teachers in our district, the parents have from the ground level been supportive. And there hasn't been a time where I haven't reached out to ask just about anybody in that lineup of people that they haven't come through. Yeah, let's try it. And it's pretty amazing, because I don't think that is always the way. At least when I go talk to my colleagues in other districts and opportunities, they'll say, there's not only funding, but staffing and space and all those things can kind of get in the way. And I think we've been really incredibly lucky that along the way, every part of that is, so we've had some door open, small or big. I don't think it matters, to help us kind of get further ahead. And that's what it's all about.
Philosophy is, hey, how can we make this happen, rather than why not?
Yeah. I mean,
why shouldn't it work? Yeah.
Nobody questions that. They say, what can we do to help you? So.
And I think this studio, and of course we're on an audio podcast, but if you could see this studio, it's laid out very nice, first class, and it's a collaboration amongst some folks who said, hey, let's talk about giving our kids and some of our community an opportunity for a podcast and to record and have conversations like this. On a variety of topics and variety of audiences, but it is well done, as most everything is at Hoover, and well done. We know our construction trades class helped build this set, and of course our video productions and some other electronic folks have contributed some equipment, and it's top of the line, and hopefully we have a top line product. I don't know about this host, but it's a great opportunity. I know some kids are using this and getting their voice heard.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny, because I should give a shout out to Tom Wilson. He said years ago, when I shared with him about putting together an art gallery, because he had put so much into video productions, he said to me, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. You're going to start with a seed. People are going to see that seed, and they're going to want to ask you in some way, how can they help? And he said, it may not always be money. It's word of mouth. It's the connection that they have with somebody else. And so he said to me, start with a seed and have a little bit of patience. And he was, all right, Tom Wilson, you were 1,000% right.
Spot on.
Yeah, he was right. He knows what he's talking about.
Great. Well, and if we touched on this or not, but we're glad you're able to talk to us today. We very much appreciate you having us. And as a parent in the North Canton district, why is our school district a good choice for students who want to learn about art?
I always say kind of what I said before, so if I repeat myself, I apologize. We don't just paint. We don't just teach the simple basics, the sort of the rudimentary things we talk about in visual art, but we try to have the kids connect to a bigger world beyond where they are, so that they understand that there are career paths and there's connections to real life. It doesn't matter if it's math or science or culinary arts. We try to link some kind of connection so the kids get it and see that it goes beyond that. It was funny, a couple of years ago, a couple of Kent State professors always said to me, art is really playful relevance. It's a chance for kids to play, for their minds to sort of go beyond the traditional classroom, to take risks, safe risks, to be playful, and to then make those connections back to the things that are important to them. So they said, if you have playful relevance, and that little phrase has always stuck with me, that's what the arts and a lot of these other programmings that we have here is, they need playful relevance to make bigger connections to what they're capable of, and to the bigger connections to the things they're learning from my colleagues. And I call them the big four, right?
Sure.
Math, science, all those, the English, they need those. So.
And what a great opportunity for kids to have an outlet and to be able to express themselves other than some of the traditional ways. But, it's a demanding world, and to have an opportunity for people to express themselves and to tell students and help students, show students how to do that productively in a safe space. And it's a great thing. So love seeing it. Can't wait to our next show. Is there a next show scheduled at Studio 525?
So we're hungry. We wrote another grant just recently.
Awesome.
So we're hoping to do a project called 50 Bowls, where the kids will actually make at least 50 different bowls. Our hope is to get some community support with local gift cards from restaurants and vendors, put them in the bowls, then people can silent auction and buy the bowls, and then we hope to raise the money and give it to a charity that the kids feel worthy, so they can see that their artwork has the power to be something beyond themselves. So it's not just about the making, it's what the energy that creates to do something further. So that's our hope. So I think we had about a 2-week wait, so we're hoping that will be the next show.
Awesome. We'll look for an announcement and some advertising. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, very, very much appreciate you being here. It's a great program, a great studio, and certainly an outstanding educator that we very proud to have you leading the way.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
So thanks our listeners for joining us as we learn about our district and community. And join us next week when we talk with Mike Grady about the business management program and junior achievement at Hoover High School. Always remember that if you have any questions or comments or any ideas to share with us about our podcast, just let us know through email at vikingspotlight@northcantonschools.org. Once again, if you have any ideas, comments, questions, or suggestions, let us know at Viking Spotlight at northcantonschools.org. Appreciate everybody listening, and go Vikings.